Hey YouTube, I just did a game with my buddy Joe, and it was his first time playing as the Allies in Global, and his strategy for Anzac was not very good. So that gave me the idea to do a video with my Anzac fortress strategy. So what he bought was things like, very early in the game, he bought strategic bomber, tactical bombers once he was at war with Japan, so if it had the money, submarines, things like that. We're not going to do that, not till maybe way later in the game. And this is just with like Global, this isn't with BBR. I have my Dutch expansion set up here, but you could play it without that. That would also kind of benefit you because you could take them. For my Dutch expansion, you can't take these until you're at war with Japan. Out of box, you can grab these. So however you want to play, this is the idea that you want to try and do. More than likely, Japan is going to do a J2 attack. So I have my purchases set up here in terms of turn order, what I would preferably do. More likely they're going to do a J2 attack against the Allies unless you guys declare war on them and try to do a sneaky Carl or something like that. But more than likely, Japan's going to beeline for Calcutta and China, maybe mess with Russia and Hawaii, but they're more likely going to go for Calcutta and then boomerang to Anzac. So what you're going to do is you're going to prepare for that. You're going to make it as difficult as possible because Anzac has only one job, and that is to stay alive. So what you're going to do is you're going to, first turn, you're going to buy 2 infantry and artillery because you got $10. You're going to disperse a little bit. You're probably going to fly this guy to Malaya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, send that guy to Malaya. I'll address the dude in Malaya right now real quick. This guy you're not going to do very much with, but depending on what the UK Pacific is doing over here, Japan takes control of French Indochina, and if they end up leaving it open, and if this guy's still alive, take it. Get the 2 IPCs for Anzac. Take it. This guy, have these guys, try to have the fighter stay alive as much as possible, maybe help out, just maybe eventually, bring the other guys from New Zealand over and defend Malaya as much as you can. You're probably going to lose them. Probably going to lose these guys, but if you can use them and continue to use them to hold Malaya so you get another national objective, do it. Once you're at war, or if you're not playing with the Dutch, take that as soon as possible. Bring 2 of these guys up, right? Bring those 2 guys up, okay? But you're gonna build these dudes. You're gonna move these guys to like here. The 2 AAA. You're gonna build these guys here. Probably do something with this cruiser, maybe not. Bring the fighter from here over. If he doesn't kill the transport right away, you go back and get... Sorry, let me move this a little bit. You're going to get the guy off of New Zealand, bring him over too. But ultimately, with your purchases that you're going to do, again like this, probably because you're going to do since they're going to most likely do a J2 attack in my experience, they'll start giving you some extra money. At that point, turn 3, buy a tank. You'll probably only need to buy 1 tank. That's all I ever do. I only ever buy 1 tank. But essentially, something like that. At some point, depending on what happens, maybe fluctuate a little bit and buy. So that was turn 2, turn 3. At some point, buy another destroyer because you might need it. So let's say you lose this guy. Let's say you do lose the transport, but let's say you still have the guys up here and you still are holding this, okay? But eventually you're going to start moving stuff over, and with the new units that you buy, you're eventually this is what you're striving for. And you're going to move that tank. That tank's going to stay in Queensland because Queensland's the most valuable area minus the capital. But eventually, what you're going to do is something like this. You're going to get at least 4 artillery in South Australia, an infantry and at least 2 mech in Western Australia. I throw a guy down in Victoria just to put him there. You're going to have Probably something like that. That is what you're going to strive for. Maybe you only have one fighter. Let's just have the one fighter there, right? You're going to have something kind of like this, and then on top of that, you're going to have the Americans bring a couple carriers down here and maybe send a few more of their fighters to help defend here. Maybe even bring over a couple guys, a couple infantry to help further defend Queensland. I had a game where I did that. You'll have, you know, a couple U.S. destroyers or whatever. You know, you have some U.S. presence here to counter whatever the Japanese throw at you. You know, hopefully you got a bunch of fighters, you know. But the idea with this setup is by the time Japan goes for Calcutta, and if they make a beeline for Anzac, this strategy kind of goes out the window a little bit, but more than likely, I got these, I'll just move all this stuff out of the way. More than likely, Japan's going to go for Calcutta. Notice I have all the roundels already set up, but they're going to go for Calcutta, and once they got Calcutta, they're going to come for you. But the question is, where are they going to come for you? Because by the time they come for you, you're already going to be so defended that they're going to have to reevaluate the situation and figure out where to attack you. Because if they attack you here, well, then obviously everything can close in. If they attack here, well, all this stuff can close in, and these two mechs can then retake. You know, all this stuff can retake it. They're not going to be able to invade. They're more than likely not going to be able to invade two spots at once. But you basically build up something that you can just react to. If they invade Western Australia, well, all this stuff plus that tank and whatever air force you have can beeline for there. And same thing for, you know, Queensland. Everything from New South Wales can go right into there. So all the infantry defend at a 2 already. So you have them be the main defense and have the artillery be the retaliation. And then, yeah, like I said, I have a guy in Victoria, but if they're going to come down and land in Victoria, you're probably going to get a heads up that they might do that. So if they're down here already, well, then obviously you could probably, or if they're like here, for example, if they're here and they're not on the shore, well, then you can probably shuffle a little bit more around and react to that a little bit. But that's what I do when I'm in Japan. I get a foothold on Australia, and once I hold that foothold, and I can then land planes in it, well, then it's game over for Australia unless the U.S. comes in and saves them immediately. So that's the general idea of what I do with Australia and what I try to strive for. You might not have this, you might lose this at some point, but if you have this by the time Japan decides to finally deal with you, it's not gonna be easy for them, you know, and that'll buy enough time for the U.S. to come down and save you with more than that even. So the fact that there's an air base and a naval base here, they can just send fighters from Hawaii to here, and that, you know, these can get fixed. Fighters can land here if that gets damaged. But yeah, this is the best way, in my experience at least, this is the best way, striving for something like this is the best way to defend Anzac, and just make it unappealing and make Japan regret not going for you earlier.